votar, ni siquiera sé cuándo son las elecciones, ni siquiera sé nada, por eso están los delegados, pero de todas maneras es como que man, perecita. Pero acá entra el componente económico. O sea, que si tú entras y tú votas por una propuesta, es como que, man, o sea, si pasa la propuesta en la que yo aposté, no aposté, en la que yo hice el análisis previo y decidí que esa era la mejor propuesta, yo voy a ganar ciertos tokens. Entonces, por ejemplo, eso en Solana, sé que hay un proyecto en Solana que lo hace. Igual Optimism empezó a hacer como que esto, como un trial, pero era como signaling, o sea, era como solamente como para analizar. Entonces hay una gran diferencia entre prediction markets y Futarkey. Prediction market es como, no se toman decisiones, simplemente se llenan las encuestas. Y en Futarkey sí entra como de una manera de ejecución. O sea, tú estás aceptando mediante esa propuesta que pase como un proposal. ¿Entendieron? Sí, más o menos. El tema del AI agents para temas de gobernanza. O sea, obviamente lo que yo mencionaba de temas de conflictos de interés, temas de que a lo mejor yo como delegado, yo no conozco exactamente las propuestas o no tengo la capacidad de hacerlo. Ok, ahorita todo el tema de AI está muy metido en el tema de gobernanza. Aquí hay un mission request súper reciente de Optimism, que es como que, ok, le voy a dar funding a un proyecto que quiera hacer investigación en temas de AI y delegados. Entonces, como que es algo como que, ok, los protocolos están yéndose para allá. Por ejemplo, A166, sí, que es como un fondo de inversión de VC muy amplio, hicieron el año pasado lo que se llamaba ELISA, que es como que básicamente como estos modelos de AI, agents para temas de gobernanza. Hay algo muy interesante que Vitalik estuvo hablando hace un tiempo, y de hecho ya es un proyecto en Ethereum Foundation, que es de Deep Funding, que es también para el tema de alocación de grants eh, en base a AI. Entonces también como que se deja un poquito de lado todo eso de, ok, le voy a dar un grant porque es mi amigo. Acá es como que entra el componente de AI que lo hace como que mucho más neutro, por decirlo de cierta manera. Otro tema súper relevante, que es este es de hecho del modelo de gobernanza de Eigenlayer. ¿Alguien sabe qué es Eigenlayer? Edgar, estás con todo, estás con todo. Es un proyecto de restaking. Entonces, Eigenlayer lo que hace en este modelo de gobernanza es que ellos dicen, man, o sea, eso de un token, un voto o proporcional a la plata que tienes, a los tokens que tienen, esa vaina no está funcionando. Entonces yo necesito a personas como que de verdad sepan del proyecto, Fren. O sea, yo no quiero que cualquiera esté votando sobre mis upgrades si en verdad no sabe. Entonces, tú primero tienes que hacer, ¿alguien sabe qué es staking? Ok, primero tienes que stakear el token, o sea, dejarlo ahí y posiblemente te dé rendimientos. O sea, no estoy segura, no sé cómo me tiran en Layer. Entonces, esas personas que hacen el staking, ellos luego se van con estos curadores, que son como que personas que saben mucho del tema. Y entonces ellos son las personas con un high context sobre los diferentes temas y son los como que en verdad toman las decisiones. O sea, porque eso es algo como que yo critico mucho. Por ejemplo, yo me metí de delegada de CK Sync y en verdad dejé de participar porque, Fren, o sea, habían vainas súper técnicas que yo no manejaba. Entonces era como que yo, ¿cómo voy a estar tomando como decisiones sobre temas que yo no conozco? Pero ¿qué pasa? Que hay gente que simplemente vota en favor a sus intereses. Entonces ahí es donde vienen como que los conflictos en este tema. Ya terminé. Entonces, básicamente, preguntas que me interesan explorar, que no sé ustedes qué temas tienen. A mí un tema que me encanta, o sea, a mí me encanta tanto el tema de gobernanza descentralizada, de proyectos de Web3, porque es como un experimento. Entonces es como que, Fren, hay muchas iteraciones, es lo que les decía al inicio, o sea, como que es un martes cualquiera el protocolo, dije, ¿sabes qué? Voy a cambiarlo completamente y voy a hacer otra vaina. Entonces, es como un mundo donde uno puede explorar y donde en verdad no pasa nada si, o sea, nadie se va a morir si en verdad se cambian las cosas y se exploran. Pero a mí lo que más me interesa es como analizar cómo estos modelos de gobernanza, también sobre todo en la parte tecnológica, se pueden aplicar a nuestros gobiernos locales. Entonces, ese es como que un tema que a mí genuinamente como que me interesa demasiado. Edgar, por favor.
Teresa, tenía dos preguntas.
¿Tenías dos preguntas? Dale,
Sí.
pa.
Uno es sobre cómo estructurar los mecanismos de votación. Tú mencionaste Arbitrum. Arbitrum hace como 2 semanas, hubo una persona que pagó 5 Ethereums, que son como $10,000, y con esos 5 Ethereums pudo controlar o sea, tiene poder de control sobre votos de $6.5 millones. Entonces, eso obviamente afecta al resto de VCs, al resto de gente involucrada. Y es como que cómo estructurar un modelo de votación que sea óptimo o de repente qué proyectos consideras que tienen ya estructurado un buen modelo de votación. Eso uno. Y la segunda más como del enforceability. En el momento de dar grants, tú hablaste
Del grant distribution, ajá.
de los conflictos de intereses. O sea, por ejemplo, hubo unos developers en Optimism, le aprobaron el grant y lo que hicieron una vez aprobado el grant fue ir y cambiarse a Solana. Entonces, ¿cómo un grant ya aprobado, dinero pasado por la wallet, qué se hace en esos casos? O qué medidas se pueden tomar para prevenir? Ajá.
En el primer punto que mencionabas, yo creo que ese tema de la captura, que es lo que yo estaba diciendo del Anti-Capture Commission, la captura de tokens, cuando tienes cierta cantidad de tokens y tú puedes hacer decisiones, solamente tú, se ha estado mitigando de diferentes maneras. Por ejemplo, en Optimism, en Arbitrum no tienen lo que tiene, por ejemplo, Arbitrum, que es el Anti-Capture Commission, que mencionaba que, ok, tienen cierta cantidad de tokens. Igual en CK Sync tienen un poder de veto, o sea, hay un comité que tiene también un poder de veto sobre proposals que no, en verdad, no son acorde al North Star en CK Sync, por ejemplo, que es como que el camino. Y también lo que estaban mencionando acá de Eigenlayer, que ellos lo que están haciendo es que están eliminando el tema de que simplemente cualquiera puede votar en los proposals y se hace como que a base de diferentes comités o diferentes como curadores que sí tienen como que un high context del tema. Entonces yo creo que eso ayuda mucho. Creo que también es como, ha evolucionado tan rápido que te estás dando cuenta, que uno se va dando cuenta, y que man, o sea, esto no va a proceder. Por eso es que lo que estaba mencionando, que hay también como que proyectos que se dedican a medir el riesgo y con cuánta cantidad de dinero tú puedes papar de tokens, puedes pasar proposals en diferentes vainas, en diferentes proyectos. Entonces son como que vainas que están pasando, esto es como muy nuevo y entonces así es como que vamos iterando hacia formas más relevantes. Del segundo tema que dijiste es súper importante, o sea, el grant distribution, como mencioné acá, es uno de los puntos principales para los cuales los token holders o delegados o el modelo de gobernanza de cualquier proyecto hace la distribución, la alocación de fondos para proyectos que van a trabajar en esos proyectos, en estos networks. Y antes, de hecho yo cuando estaba en la Anti-Capture Commission, nosotros sí vimos varios casos, cuando yo estaba en el Code of Conduct Council, en Optimism, sí vimos varios casos de eso, que qué pasaba cuando alguien no ejecutaba un proyecto como acordado. Y antes, yo creo que todos sabemos aquí en cripto que puta, los proyectos dan un montón de plata y después tú no sabes qué pasa con esa plata y el proyecto se cae y después el proyecto surge y hacen un montón de enredos. Ahorita hay de hecho muchos como mediciones en todo el impacto y en todo el tema de grant distribution. O sea, ha cambiado enormemente. Ahorita hay comités específicos para alocar grants. También está el tema de que ya no te lo dan todo desde el inicio. O sea, tú tienes que, en base a las métricas que tú vas ejecutando, es donde van dándote cierta cantidad de tokens y en base a las métricas. Y también, ya obviamente, el tema de que si no lo cumples, lo tengas que regresar, es como menos enforceable, a menos que uses, por ejemplo, Superfluid, que, bueno, no aplicaría Superfluid para eso. Esto sería más como para el distribution de los tokens conforme se vayan cumpliendo las métricas. Y el otro tema que mencionaba en relación a los grants es el tema de deep funding, que es como utilizando AI para distribuir, o sea, para el tema de cuáles son los mejores proyectos sin ese tema de conflicto de interés a los cuales se deben alocar o no grants. O sea, todo el tema de grants es súper, súper interesante. De hecho, una gran amiga es experta en este tema, la pueden buscar en Twitter, se llama Laura Mu, y ella es como que ella hace todos los proyectos. ¿Qué pasó? Se la pueden buscar, es una crack. La man se dedica básicamente a hacer todo el tema de grant distributions, structures para diferentes networks. ¿Alguna otra pregunta?
justo en Panama DAO estamos buscando la forma de hacer un reinforcement para que las personas que hagan las propuestas, ¿no? Los proposals, no por el número de NFTs pase la propuesta directamente aprobada. Obviamente tenemos lo que tú mencionaste, un veto, que es a través de este grupo que tiene más tokens, que se llaman casualmente los fundadores, que son los fundadores del mismo DAO, que pueden hacer un veto, nunca lo han ejecutado. Entonces lo que estábamos pensando es quizás hacer como el Code of Conduct del DAO para las propuestas y hacer un sistema de validación con AI, que sería muy sencillo, ¿no? Un prompt que valide el código de conducta o el tipo de propuestas que tienen que ser ideales, y entonces que la persona que haga el proposal pueda decir, sí, estoy alineado a lo que quiere el DAO, pero habría una forma dentro de lo que tú conoces que eso pueda ser como automático.
O sea, mira, lo que yo te podría recomendar en este tema es que tengas personas con high context en el tema de grant distribution. O sea, que sean personas como que saben del tema y como que los delegados o los PTY holders lo que hagan sean, elijan a este comité que es el que se va a encargar de la distribución de grants. Y ellos tienen como que también ser accountable, o sea, tienen que tener como ser transparentes en sí, presentar reportes a la DAO en general. Porque, ¿qué pasa? O sea, yo tengo un PTY y yo creo que yo he votado una vez, o sea, porque me da pereza. En cambio, yo dije, vamos a elegir un set de personas que sean expertos en el tema y ellos sean los que dicen, vamos a alocar cierta cantidad de capital a los diferentes proyectos. Y te esquipeas un paso. Y puedes meter también algo relacionado como a deep funding, que es que, bueno, no es exactamente ese, tengo 30 segundos, pero es muy interesante eso, que es como que, ok, yo voto en ciertas propuestas. Entonces, el AI sabe ya qué tipo de propuestas son las que yo estoy votando a favor de. Entonces, ya después simplemente como que va siguiendo dentro de esa misma línea. Listo. Chao.
Let's give it up for Teresa. Thank you. One more time, guys. Come on. Who learned something new? Great. That was fun, right? Yeah? Woo! All right, our next speaker. We're going to keep this momentum going. This person, the first time I met him, was wondering, this guy, where does he come from? Thinking like he's thinking as he's at his age. He's a person that has a great quality, which is curiosity. He's the type of person who asks, what if? And now, he was trying to figure out how can I turn the tables in the favor of each individual who likes gaming. Who likes gaming? Right, it's good. Well, he thought about a solution on how to do that. And he's bringing to us his presentation on gaming. iGaming is tokenized. That's the future, and that's how he sees it. He's a double major in finance and entrepreneurship, commercial entrepreneurship. He's very strategic in how he thinks, very methodic, and I want you to meet him. His name is Alejandro Navarro, and he's the CEO of Betsky, which you're going to have the pleasure to experience later on. Let's give it up for Alejandro. Come on out to the stage. Come on. Let's feel it. Come on, guys. Come on. You're going to be able to play later on.
Thank you, Telly. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alejandro Navarro, as Telly just said. And before we get started, before we dive deep in, I'd like to take a step back and go to where it all started. It was when I was 19 years old, many years ago. I was with a couple of friends. It was the weekend, and a friend was placing a bet on a very sketchy offshore casino site. He lost $100. He was mad. He cursed at the computer. And the funny thing and the interesting thing about all of this is that After that event happened, the following weekend, he was once again placing bets on the same site. What I want to talk about this is the fact that betting is really not about winning. Of course, you will win some and you will lose some, but betting is more about the thrill, the excitement, the adrenaline that you get when you place a bet. So that was a very big realization that I had. The second realization that I had was that even on the weekends that he won, he was later on going to lose everything that he won and more. Why is this? Because the house always wins. He didn't have any incentive, he didn't have any type of reward, and he could not access the upside that betting houses provide. So we thought, what if we could give that upside? What if we could give users the opportunity to actually be part of the house? So the betting industry has many problems. It's a growing and booming industry, but it has no ownership, no loyalty, and no transparency. It is a booming industry at almost $100 billion per year, projected to double in the next 5 years. However, users have to take all of the risk without being able to rake in any of the rewards. And in Latin America, the problem is far worse. We have the same system, with the difference being that most of the platforms here are white label or turnkey solutions that are mostly cloned out between all of the different platforms throughout the region. This means that you just pay a small fee, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You acquire a built-in platform, you put your logo, and you start to go to market. This was something that might have worked 10 or 15 years ago. But in this point in time, in history, with so much development and so many advancements made on this growing industry, the Latin American industry is far underserved. We have platforms like this one, a leading platform in some countries of the world. This is the #1 platform in Mexico. Now, you have something completely different. We decided to switch the flip and build a custom in-house AAA platform that offers everything a user needs, everything a user wants, and we build a completely different system where all of them can become part of the house and step into that role of a casino owner with odds up to 130,000 matches per month in sports, with a live casino system, with casino games, and with our original games that are fully made in-house by our team of developers. And the beautiful thing about all of this is that we're leveraging Web3 and blockchain technologies to create the first revenue-sharing tokenized system in the iGaming industry, where token holders are continuously earning, continuously reaping rewards and taking in profits, earning 15% of all of the gross gaming revenue of all of the bets made in the platform. The gross gaming revenue are the funds left after paying the winning bets, essentially giving users a unique stake in such a high growth industry. Why did we choose Latin America first? Why is it that our approach is Latin America and then to other emerging markets? We chose Latin America because it is the fastest growing market in the region, in the world, has an 18.5% compound annual growth rate, almost double the normal growth rate of the industry. This shows the advancement and potential growth that the industry has, yet no other startup has tried to come into this area and take in the market. Slowly, more and more operators are starting to look at Latin America as the jewel of the industry. Why? Because you have new markets, emerging markets coming along, you have more regulation, you have more players, and the industry has shifted from what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. 10 years ago, this industry was very taboo. Now, I want to ask you something. Please raise your hand if you have ever made a casino or a sports bet. Okay. Now, please raise your hand if you know someone that has made a casino or sports bet. Right. The great majority of the room. The future of the industry is tokenized. We can compare different industries, Web 2 and Web 3. And the beautiful thing about innovation is that Web 3 gives us the opportunity, blockchain technology gives us the opportunity to be able to disrupt a sector and an industry that was previously unbreakable. The Web 2 industry, the casino industry for Web 2, where the house always wins, it's a very centralized industry. There are few casino owners, there's lots of profits, and all of those profits are divided between few people. Now, out of all of the profit that's generated in this industry, how much of this goes to users? The answer is zero. There isn't any type of actual revenue or profit being directed to any type of user. So users have no type of real loyalty to a platform. They have no type to engage within the platform. And they're left with the old model of the Web 2 where all profits go to the house. You're just a bettor. It's completely centralized with the generic and the same welcome bonuses, match deposits, free spins, free plays that everyone knows and is tired of. We're making the switch from the Web 2 and the old antique system into the Web 3, where there are VIP tiers, token rewards, missions, staking yield. You're a player, yes, but you're also an owner. Everything is on-chain. Our games are probably fair. You can check every single game within the blockchain. And lastly, 15% of the revenue is shared with users. So this is the type of innovation that the industry needs. This is just to paint out the picture of what a fully built in-house platform looks like and what a white label solution looks like. The user experience is completely different. The interface, the friendliness, the support, the integrations, everything is completely different. We can customize and add features as fast as we want because we own the source code. We own the IP. We don't have to wait for any provider to implement something for us to have it. We have our own set of Betsky originals. These are 17 proprietary games that are fully custom and developed by our team in-house, completely probably fair. You can check every single transaction on these games. These are fast games that are shareable, streamable, and that no other traditional platform in Latin America has. Just to give an example of how the games look, the system, for example, this game is Mines. You have to click the Mines to be able to start making profit, and you can cash out at any time. So he just cash out 166 multiplier, and it's a more strategic, more innovative game that if you're just playing slots on a casino, if you're just pressing a button on a casino, on an online casino, you will get bored. It will lose its fun. This is a Plinko game where all of the balls go to the different sections and each has a different multiplier. You can choose your risk parameters. You can choose your risk parameters. You can choose the level of rows, and everything is completely provable on chain. Everything is verifiable on chain. And lastly, the last game that we're going to show is Crash. Crash, you start to bet, and you have to cash out before the ball explodes. So you're already at a 1.5, cash out at 1.6. And it's very interesting because with these games, the mindset comes a lot into play, the psychological mindset. You know, what if I leave the ball going like this in this example? There are people that can cash out at 20x, 50x, 100x. It's all dependent on the user. But with this type of game that is shareable, streamable, friendly to the influencer, we're completely changing the narrative of what's possible. We're changing the narrative of what's possible in an industry that desperately needs a change. Our go-to-market strategy is very robust, very in-depth. I don't want to bore you with all of the details, so we'll go on to the main factors, which are a stream that starts with streamers as the main point. We have a wide network of streamers in Latin America that are going to be sharing all of our BetSky Originals games that a user, for example, in Latin America that uses any of the white label solutions will not be able to access these games. Then we go into the affiliates. We're working with the biggest and best affiliate managers and affiliate companies in the world that have access to millions of users in traffic. With very good affiliate deals, we will be able to acquire high volume of users at a low cost per acquisition. Once we go on from the streamers to the affiliates, we go on to the rewards. The reward section is the most outdated part besides the platform of a white label or traditional Latin American platform. With a white label or traditional platform, you have your usual welcome deposit bonus, your free spins, your free slots. You have no type of ongoing reward. There's no VIP club. There are no incentives to high wagers. If you are a whale in a betting platform, there are no real rewards. And there's no ongoing maintenance for the user in which he can and he knows that with the growth of the platform, he is growing as well. Our moats, our momentum, and our strategy. We have a very robust base that we've compiled over the last 3 years, which is the time we've been developing the platform. And everything starts with the mastery. I, for one, I'm someone that thinks that experience will always beat ideas. There's a very long road from the idea to the execution. A lot of things that need to be done, a lot of processes, and there are completely different things. This is why on our team we have experts in the industry, former general managers of some of the biggest operations internationally in Latin America and in Europe. These are people that know what they're doing. These are people that know how to attack the market and how to change everything that's been done with the traditional system and apply it to our innovative system. We have global scale with blockchain. We can target traditional users with traditional payments such as credit card, debit card, bank transfer, cash deposit. But we also accept every single major cryptocurrency so that users can really have ease of use with payments. We have momentum with the community, with influencer deals already signed, and with the ongoing rewards that we will provide. With 5,000 pre-registered users in our platform, over 15,000 followers on social media, and we haven't even launched. Our community is buzzing for a change. They know the innovative idea and design of our platform and cannot wait to start testing it. And lastly, we have the moats. This is why we are different. And it's due to the fact that we have custom tech. Took us 3 years to build, But at the end, we own the IP, we own the source code, we are the ones that can add any feature at any point in time that we want, and that is something that no other platform in Latin America can do at this point in time. Our vision, we are not just another betting platform that's coming out to market. Right now, we're building a movement. The betting industry desperately needs a movement like this one. We believe that ownership beats traditional engagement every single time. We believe that if users are owners, they will bring their friends, they will show up, and they will stick around. We believe that changing the paradigm of you against the house to me being the house completely outweighs the traditional system that desperately needs a change. We're not just creating a betting platform. We're creating the first ever betting empire that is owned by players. We believe that the next billion-dollar casino will be player-owned. And that next casino will be Betski. So with this, I leave you. If you're an enthusiast of Web3, if you believe that an industry with such high growth requires a change, please join us and be the player, be the casino as well, and be Betski. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alejandro. You guys should never stop clapping until he get off the stage and back to his seat. Come on, guys. Okay, we have now a little intermission, and then we have a great person coming up. So we're gonna take 10 minutes, and you can move around, get that energy back, and we'll be back here, all right? 10 minutes. 5 minutes. Welcome back, guys. Let's wait for those still in the yard. We have a great speaker coming up. You don't want to miss it. Let's give it up for our people in the yard. It's kind of hard to get kids back from the recess, right? It always happens. Well, the guy that is coming up, he is a legend. He's an accomplished C-level executive, but now he's on this side. He's a disruptor now. He's a serial entrepreneur. So I'm going to read from his, I have my cheat sheet here. I don't want to miss anything. This guy is unbelievable. It's part of the reasons why we are doing this kind of activities, that we are launching and have hackathons and have activities to build the ecosystem, to build the community. So part of his story is this. He has 20 years of experience in founding, managing, and successfully exiting technology companies across fintech, edtech, travel, and crypto sectors. He possesses strong expertise in scaling growth businesses and establishing international structures effectively, engaging and influencing stakeholders at the executive level. His combined business and technical acumen spans trading software and embedded applications development, electronic and the Internet of Things, which is the next thing, right? Blockchain and cryptocurrency. He has proven a track record in capital raising and investor relations with the ability to conceptualize and execute new business opportunities. Is the guy that you want in your corner, right? Holding a master's degree, his experience is underpinned by effective stakeholder engagement to collaboratively achieve value-adding objectives. I want you to, with the same energy that we'll be using all this time, right? In fact, you know what? It's noon. We should get up. Let's get up. Come on your feet. Let's welcome to the stage the CEO of BlockDAG. Come on, guys. Come, I don't hear you. Anthony Turner. Do you feel that? Do you feel loved?
I love it, yes. Everyone's
Come on, tell the truth. Come on, guys. The CEO of BlockDAG.
I'll make a plan.
Okay, this is forward and that's back. Yeah, you got it?
Yeah, got it. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Great to be here. A little bit more difficult when you're following a presentation which involves lots of pretty slides, platform demos, all those sorts of things. As a layer one blockchain, EVM blockchain, there's not a lot necessarily to show. So it's going to be mostly what I tell you about. And obviously I'm standing here with my iPad to give me some notes as we go along. So instead of just telling you about BlockDAG, I thought let me take you through a bit of a journey. How do we get here, where we're going, the decisions we made, the challenges along the way. It's not easy launching a blockchain, and certainly not a layer one. So this is really just to share some of the thought patterns that we've been through and the experiences. Before I do that, just to introduce myself, I've had obviously a long introduction. I'm Anthony Turner, CEO of BlockDAG. Just to mention, I'm not sure if you've picked it up, I'm not Australian, I'm South African. I don't think I've met any South Africans who've been to Panama. We all know where it is because we've done history, but I always wondered why no one in South Africa, everyone says, let's go to Panama for a holiday. And I realized yesterday, 32 hours on the plane, there's probably a good reason why going to Panama is not the easiest thing for a holiday. So let's start with where it all began. And this is just a bit of history before I dive into the BlockDAG specific areas. So any story in crypto starts with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a breakthrough in distributed consensus. It gave us trustless value transfer. It gave us censorship resistance and a monetary policy embedded in code. And then came Ethereum. It gave us programmability to the equation. Ethereum introduced smart contracts enabling everything from DeFi to NFTs to the running of DAOs to dApps, etc. But as Ethereum grew, so did its problems. Rising fees, scalability bottlenecks, increasing fragmented liquidity. To keep up the ecosystem turned to layer 2 solutions. Rollups, optimistic chains, side chains, etc. And these have extended Ethereum's lifespan, but they've also added significant complexity. And in many cases, they've traded decentralization for speed. And worse still, they fractured liquidity and pushed users through bridges, wrappers, and other nuanced blockers. Yes, Steve? Doesn't look like I can scroll. Steve, it doesn't seem like it's scrolling with this. Okay, sorry, it's a PDF, so it doesn't scroll like a slideshow should. Anyway, so one question that's often asked is why launch another layer 1? There's a plethora of layer 1s out there, too many to count, many failures, and the question is, do we need another layer 1? And our answer to that is simple, and we believe there is space for another layer 1 if we can do it differently, if we can do it better. So with BlockDAG, we've set out to build a general purpose layer 1 that maintains true decentralization, it achieves massive scalability, and also supports modern user and developer needs. So one of the choices we made earlier on is going with proof of work as opposed to proof of stake. Now that's quite a contentious one. At one stage, everyone was getting very upset about the amount of electricity that Bitcoin uses, so proof of work was almost a bit of a swear word. I think the industry's moved on. We feel that proof of work is still the best way to run a blockchain, expending actual cost as opposed to bringing in different levels of voting and staking and those sorts of things. What we also did is, and this is obviously in the BlockDAG name, we introduced something called a DAG. So traditional blockchain, proof of work blockchain is slow, and that's by design. You can't have a traditional linear blockchain operating too fast because it starts breaking down in terms of forking, which then destroys the security side of things. So one of the solutions, and it's certainly not, we didn't come up with it, so we're not taking credit for it, is the DAG. And the DAG is a directed acyclic graph. And I've got an image, if you want to, actually, there we go. So that's, the top one is a traditional linear blockchain, very simple, everyone's seen that. The bottom one is what's called a DAG. And effectively what that allows is, it embraces the fact that around the world you have different pockets of miners that are mining, that are creating blocks, and they're not all going to know about each other. So as you put them together, you end up with this parallel set of blocks. And instead of treating those as forks and trying to figure out which block or which block is the best block, what we do is we take all of them into account and we say, well, that's fine. Up to a point, we can have parallel blocks, and all we need is a mechanism to order them and to also throw out blocks that shouldn't be there or don't belong. So the consensus mechanism that again we're using, and this is off past papers, it's well tested and tried, is something called Phantom. And Phantom, effectively, if you look at the image in front of you, Phantom would go through that, and you'd run a bunch of numbers, and you would come up with certain blocks that are deemed to be potentially nefarious. And in this case, it's the red block there that you see. Now, Phantom, in theory, works very well. In practice, it's extremely difficult to code, to implement. So there's another protocol called GhostDAG. And this is what we've implemented, and this is sort of a simplified version of Phantom. It achieves the same thing, but just in an easier, simplified way. The last thing we did is we've also included EVM compatibility. And that's because developer adoption does matter. What we don't want is to try and encourage developers to join us, and they find they have to learn new tooling, new languages, etc. So EVM for us is very important as part of that roadmap for quick early adoption. So going back to the process that we took, and that typical blockchain developers would need to take. So the first one is your typical whiteboard to white paper to light paper, etc. Deciding what you're trying to achieve. Some of the decisions there are around tokenomics. What do the tokenomics look like? How much do the founders get? How much is used for incentivizing other pockets of people? Just to mention, in terms of BlockDAG, and I think we're quite unique here, is we have a 1% allocation to the team, which I'm not sure of other projects that have that low an allocation. So we feel that it's progressive, and it's the way a lot of these projects should be. 10%, 5%, 15% to the founders, we feel is overly high, and it's just too much. So it's questions around tokenomics, governance, the launch strategy, how do you grow your community, economic incentives. As much as in the early days you have mining rewards and those sorts of things, at the end of the day, the blockchain needs to be self-sufficient. It needs to get to the point where it can pay its way, and that all needs to be designed into it. This is also often a place where the projects fail, because you're making decisions now for things that happen quite far down into the future. And certainly from my perspective, I found it very difficult. Some of these concepts are quite nuanced, and trying to understand the choices that you make now and the implications down the line. We studied quite a few of the other chains that have launched recently. Monad, which are the other ones? Berachain, Monad, Casper, and a few others. We looked at sort of how they've done it, all very successful chains, so we certainly learned a lot from them, and that was very useful. So the next one is fundraising or community, growing the community. So there's obviously quite a few different ways of doing this. You can go with a traditional pre-sale. There's different auction mechanics. You can go with a fair launch where nothing is sold up front, but it all happens then after the token is launched on exchanges. And there are other permutations of those, some combinations of them. And some of them have different pros and cons. So at BlockDAG, we decided to go with a pre-sale. And the reason for that was twofold. The first one was obviously from a fundraising perspective. We wanted to raise funds, and we were quite explicit that we wanted to raise from retail. So one of the big issues with a lot of chains is they can raise from some large VCs. Then you throw retail into the mix, and at some point someone feels like they're being dumped on, and that's normally because the VCs get a better terms and they can sell before the rest. So we stuck purely with the retail side of things, and we also wanted to use that as a mechanism to grow the community. So our feeling, and also again looking at some of the other chains, some of the gamified rewards, we found they worked fairly well, as in projects could go out there and they can talk about X 100,000 wallets or million wallets, and that sounds great, but are those really your long-term users? Are they dedicated to the project, or are they just people looking for the next airdrop? So our feeling was, again, if people invest in you, and it's what Alejandro said, nothing incentivizes people more than ownership. So we went with a pre-sale model where people own a part of the blockchain, and we're happy with that. The numbers speak for themselves. We've got north of 150,000 investors that have bought tokens, and that's climbing all the time. So I mean, that's a massive user base. We've got a couple of other marketing tools that we're using, and I'm not going to go into them, but between that plus our investor base, etc., we've got more than 1 million members in our community that we can talk to, we can engage with, we can promote to, etc. So I mean, that's massively powerful to start a project with those sort of numbers, with the funding behind us, but more importantly with the people behind us in that large community. So the next thing is building the tech. And as it says on the slide, it's not just about the chain. Simplistically, it seems the most important thing is to build a blockchain, the coding around that. It's not just fork it, tweak it, and you're done. That's certainly not how it works. So in 2025, to launch a blockchain, you first got to obviously build your core blockchain. You need a full-featured Explorer. You need smart contract support and tooling, set of smart contracts itself to run things like vesting, etc., and anything else that you're layering in, developer SDKs and APIs, an optimization and test framework, and I'll touch on that in a moment. And then there's a lot of infrastructure needed as well to run not one but multiple test nets, indexes, oracles, the nodes that you're running in the different test nets, etc. So there's a lot to be done and a lot of moving parts. We chose from an Explorer perspective, and a lot of these you can go and get sort of off the shelf, or if you want to call, or open source Explorers, etc. We decided not to go that route. We felt that as a DAG, there's quite a few nuances in the DAG and what we want to show. So we've built our own Explorer from scratch. And an Explorer, I'm not sure how much time you spent looking at them, but they're not just about sort of seeing, did my transaction go through, was I paid, etc. I mean, that's obviously what we all see and we all look at. But there's a lot of other things to it in terms of the contracts that are the smart contracts that have been deployed on the network, the verification of contracts, node information around who's out there, where the nodes are, how they're performing, etc. So there's a lot more to the Explorer. The other thing is, and this again, it's something we hadn't necessarily thought about, but we've realized how important it is an automated testing and optimization framework. So in a DAG environment, you've got quite a few areas you can tweak the DAG to get more speed. And like most things, as you change one variable, the other one changes. So we've got what's called a K-factor, which is effectively how wide can the blockchain be. And there's pros and cons to making it wider. And then there's also block speed, how fast you want your blocks to effectively be created. And then there's block size. So there are a couple of different variables that can be tweaked. So what we've built is a framework so we can spin up a test net of 5, 10, 15 nodes. We can load it with a certain version of the nodes. We can play with the variables. We can test it, and we can pull it down again, and we can do that repeatedly again and again. And that's part of optimizing for the different variables. It's also very important in terms of before pushing a node out, knowing that we can actually do quite a bit of testing fairly quickly, knowing that it's been thoroughly tested. So something else which is very important. So in 2018, you could launch a chain and you could say DeFi coming soon, and that was okay. So right now, 2025, you certainly can't say that. Any chain has to have the basics of DeFi. So that's where we're talking about stable coins, not one, not two, but a couple of stable coins, and probably also yield-bearing stable coin as well. I mean, that's a lot of projects and a lot of people are looking for that. So we need stable coins, we need DEXs, we need bridges, and lending and borrowing protocols as well. So that's sort of the core, and builders also expect that. A lot of what you're building requires certain things in place. So our focus for now has been building the DeFi side of things. We don't have to have only one of each of them. Again, that's the beauty of decentralized environment. We'll bring the first set, and others are welcome to bring more of them. The way we're approaching that is we're certainly not reinventing. We're partnering where it makes sense. We're using open source where it makes sense. And where necessary, we're building our own. So it's a combination of that. Part of that is obviously liquidity. And again, it wasn't so important not too long ago, but it's become more and more important. And one of the big metrics now is TVL locked on chains, and that's even before launch. So looking at Berachain and the others, I mean, they had in the billions, couple of billion locked on the chain before launch, and that's again something we need to do. So we need to build the DeFi side of things, and we need to make sure that we have TVL locked. So any liquidity providers, we're certainly open for discussions around that. The ecosystem. So obviously we can do everything correctly, we can launch it, we can promote it, but if we don't have developers, if we don't have projects, we'll end up with a graveyard. And that has happened to a lot of chains, and we're very aware that that's probably the biggest key item going forward, is making sure that when we launch, we have a full ecosystem of developers, of builders who want to build on us, who have reasons to build on us, who see the value of the technology that they're building on. So in order to promote that, we've put together an ambassador program. We've got a grants program that started. We've also got a global hackathon series that has also kicked off. We're going to have holding multiple of those over the next year. We're part of the hackathon that's happening here in ETH Canal at the moment, and that's a part in-person, part remote one. I think we've got 500, 600, 700 people thereabouts between in-person and remote. So I mean that's a good place to start. And over the next year, we're targeting sort of 10,000 developers. So we've got a big push around that. Nick, who's our CMO, he's going to be speaking later on in the week. He's probably going to be getting photos with a lot of people and trying to chat to everyone. Nick will tell you more about the promotional side of the ecosystem. So another thing is usability. I mean, looking back, blockchain was generally a bunch of fairly tech-savvy people who were excited by the technology and were willing to try a little bit harder to make it work. They would apply their mind, they would double-check the wallets, etc., just to make sure that nothing went wrong. It's still, and I think if everyone thinks back to that first transaction and the second transaction and even the third, fourth, and fifth, there's always that pang of sort of worry that if something goes wrong, this has gone for good. A couple of years later, you get fairly blasé, and it feels quite sort of second nature to be able to transfer between wallets, to swap to gas fees, to pay for things, etc. But that's certainly not the case for a lot of the people out there. And the next 100 million, billion people that we're hoping as a community or as a group to bring into the crypto space and the blockchain space, we need to be able to provide them better usability. They come from a space where banking is easy. There's always a stopgap. If something goes wrong, they've got some way of recovering. So usability is key, and that's one of the things that we've chosen to focus on. So there are things like account abstraction, which is obviously from a standards perspective, that allows things like social logins, account recovery, being able to do a transaction or transfer and have gas fees paid for by someone else or some other mechanism. We all know what it's like when you're trying to make a payment and you get the message, insufficient gas for that. It's just annoying, and you keep thinking, this shouldn't really be how it is. So account abstraction is something we're looking to implement. Social logins, again, it can be through that. There are other mechanisms for that as well. Just being able to log in like you do with your internet banking. So we're embracing that. Another big and quite a new trend at the moment is AI-based wallets. So instead of having to understand what you're doing, use AI that interprets your requirements, your commands, and actually does some of the heavy lifting or the tricky stuff for you. So that's a newer thing, and we're researching that. We're certainly very keen on it, but obviously it's a new paradigm, and we need to be careful around that. And And then there's intent-based UX as well, which focuses on what users want to do as opposed to how they do it. So again, just simplifying and to a degree abstracting away from the user the difficulties of crypto, the gas fees, the worries around the wallet address. I mean, it'd be so much easier to pay to someone to an identifier which you can remember as opposed to a wallet address. So those sorts of things. So education. So this, and we looked around at quite a few of the other chains to determine sort of what are they doing, what should we be doing, what's expected of us, what do the developers expect, and what can we also do over and above for the developers. And we were quite surprised to see that a lot of chains haven't really done much. Yes, they've got good documentation, and I think that's a prerequisite. But over and above that, the question is sort of how far do you go? We're an EVM chain, so the excuse could be, well, there's lots of EVM material out there. There's lots of stuff all over the internet. Just people can find their own materials. So we've taken a different route. We're building an academy. We're putting a lot of effort into that. It's not just for developers. So we're starting with almost the dummy guide to crypto. So how to use your wallet, how to be careful, all the safety side of things. So a lot of courseware around that, and all video-based as well, because again, people are lazy. No one likes to read. So spoon-feeding people is the way to go. So we're creating some really good content for those types of people. The next level are crypto enthusiasts, not necessarily developers, but people who understand the ecosystem. They're DeFi users, etc. So we're putting together quite a bit of material around that. We'll take that into the trading space, but again, that's probably further than we need to necessarily go in terms of being too detailed. And then the third area, obviously, is probably the most important for us is developers. So we're putting together quite a bit of material around developers, right from a newbie developer who knows nothing, how to get started, how to build smart contracts, deploy them, all of those sort of things, all the way through to sort of well-versed developers who know their stuff and helping them just transition across to BlockDAG. Part of that is also gamifying it, and obviously the easy way is always to give tokens because that's what crypto is all about, but we're also looking at whether it's NFTs, certification in terms of doing certain courses with prerequisites, and that gets you certification, and that'll all be NFT based as well. Part of those courses is also, certainly the certification is making sure that people understand what they're doing and they're competent. So we'll have elements of quizzes there and even some in-person vetting of code and other things that have been developed. So in closing, just to go back to what is BlockDAG, I think there were a couple of slides we probably went through. Actually, can you just go back to that chart? That one, yeah. So I think that shows from a positioning perspective. Now, please don't sort of analyze it and tell me sort of there might be things that you might differ on. It's not sort of super accurate, but it gives a sense for the level of decentralization and then the transactional scalability of the different chains. And obviously, as you go to the right, it's more decentralized, and up is more scalable. So typically, proof of work isn't as scalable in terms of the TPS. It's just a lot more difficult to hit the 4,000 transactions per second, etc. So that's not necessarily where we think we can get to, but the area that we're playing in, it's shown on there, and it sort of sits between Casper and Litecoin, way above Bitcoin, obviously. So that's really where we want to be. So I didn't speak about, but I'm sure you've all heard of the trilemma. Sorry, just got to log in. Yeah, so I think, this speaks to the trilemma that Vitalik talked about in terms of the three things that you're not necessarily able to achieve all in one go. sort of sufficiently well, and that is scalability, security, and decentralization. We believe that through the use of a DAG and the technologies that we have at hand, that we certainly can push that envelope as much as we can. And we're doing that, and Casper's certainly done that. So just in summary, as a summary, in terms of BlockDAG and what we're building, so BlockDAG is a layer 1 blockchain. So what is particularly important for us is the fact that we're proof of work, and that's for trust and decentralization. We built it on a DAG structure, so that's for parallel scalability. EVM compatibility, and that just encourages, obviously, the existing ecosystem to join our movement. Just to mention, we are adding WASM compatibility as well, so it's not that we're just stuck in the old side of things. If you wanted to compare it, I mean, as a summary, we combine the integrity of Bitcoin, the programmability of Ethereum, and the scalability of next-gen architectures, which is the likes of a Casper or Sonic. Where are we now? So we've had our alpha testnet, that was towards the end of last year. We've launched a beta testnet, which we call Primordial. That was launched about 3 weeks ago, and that's going very well. We're learning a lot from it, and that's always the intention of a testnet. We've had technical issues. We're solving them, but that's why the testnets are there. It's shown us where we haven't done sufficient testing. So that's part of the testing framework that we're developing. Our mainnet is scheduled to launch towards the end of the year. We haven't got a public date yet. The main driver of that is twofold. So as a proof of work blockchain, we need miners in place. So we have pre-sold miners. So there's a delivery lead time on that. But the main one is actually just technical readiness. So we've got a lot to do. We've got a lot of building to do. So that's sort of what's holding us back. And that's what sets that date. Final thoughts. So in tech, and you would have all seen it, a lot of the first movers, the so-called first mover advantage is often not an advantage, but a disadvantage. And we see that time and time again. We look at Netscape, Napster, BlackBerry, so many names. The guys that were first are not necessarily there anymore. And again, looking at, I mean, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum, they were the first guys there. We believe that we're here to revolutionize that, and our chain will do that. And we're learning from the guys that have come before us. We don't pretend to have built everything ourselves or to conceptualize everything ourselves, but we've got the benefit of hindsight from the other chains. So yeah, we're open for business. We're certainly very keen to engage with partners. We're growing our technical footprint. We see this region as very crucial. I mean, it might be far away geographically from a lot of the team members, but there's a lot happening here. So we're certainly keen to engage with parties to help us to grow BlockDAG in the community in South America. So yeah, please come chat to us. We'd love to chat to you. And yeah, any questions from anyone?
We got one.
Yeah, I'm curious with, hundreds of L1s, L2s, where you see the ultimate future, and will this consolidate, or is it interoperability, or yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this is maybe not quite the answer, but one thing which is quite interesting is in the crypto space, everyone talks about the fact that in central governments have the ability to print money, and in crypto, most of the projects have a certain predetermined token allocation, so we can't print money. What we do though is we launch new chains. So we don't print money the traditional way by adding new notes. We add new currencies. So I think, that is a problem. And the more chains, the further that grows. And obviously everyone's competing for what is still quite a small pool. I mean, we've seen Ethereum's fees have gone radically down. Now that's obviously largely due to the fact that they're losing their fees to layer 2s, but it's also the fact that there's a lot of competition out there. So between us and a lot of other guys, we're all competing. So I think interoperability is important. I think a lot of chains will dwindle. I mean, the other DAG-based chains that have been around a while, they've got good tech, but they just haven't managed to make a dent. And I think we get quite a bit of criticism for the pre-sale in terms of how it was done, the scale, etc. But what that does give us is it gives us a massive advantage compared with someone who launches with possibly better tech. I mean, it's like a lot of that saying, if we build it, they will come. Well, that's not the case anymore. I mean, we've taken the opposite approach. We've brought the people and we're building the technology, and that's been a key strategy of ours.
I am Doctor. Which could be the utility of the DAG model in the hospitality and health service? I was just thinking.
So I don't think the DAG necessarily brings anything different to, for instance, the medical industry. I think what we do offer is obviously still proof of work. So if a project, if you believe that proof of work is the right way to go, and if decentralization is important, then proof of work is what we offer. The DAG just gives us that scalability. So if you went with the older proof of works, they're too slow for a lot of things. So our block speed will be, and it's not there yet, but we're aiming to beat 10 blocks per second. We're looking at a TPS to launch with a TPS of 2,000 transactions per second. So that sort of scalability is probably what's needed, but it's not necessarily that you're looking for a DAG. It doesn't address anything directly, the DAG, for yourself.
I was thinking just like in the big hospitals, like estatal hospitals, where there is a lot of information that is moving very quickly per moment.
Yeah, so the other thing to remember is, so we don't have on-chain storage, so we're very much transactional based. So if there's information moving, that needs to be either done on other chains, for instance, any of the storage chains, and then obviously secured in terms of writing to our ledger. So there's different strategies whether you're trying to secure the information or whether it's the transactions or the actions that you want to secure.
How are we looking, guys? Any more questions? There's one over here. One more.
So what would be your roadmap for setting stable coins or Oracle networks infrastructure in BlockDAG?
So are you asking sort of from a time perspective, or what tech are we using?
Oh yeah, like what would be your roadmap for implementing that? When should I expect to have a stable coin or an Oracle network infrastructure live in the BlockDAG network?
Okay, yeah, so we don't have specific dates, but just from my understanding of the dev team that's running this, we should have our, I'm just trying to think, yeah, I'm not sure exactly on those, but for instance, the bridge we should have, and AMMs as well in the next 4 weeks, and that includes, obviously, for those to work, you need indexes and oracles as well. So probably 4 weeks, but that's obviously, remember, on testnet. And the stable coins, I mean, it'll be the traditional stable coins, so USDT, C, probably Bitcoin as well, so that'll be wrapped. And then we're looking at, as I said, a yield-based stablecoin as well.
Perfect. Let's give it up for Anthony. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
guys. Well, we have come to half a day, so there are some guys with purple t-shirts. You see them? Have you seen them around? Well, we're gonna be back here at 2:15. 2:15 back here. The purple guys are going to Casco, so you can follow them, and then choose any restaurant you feel like, you know, Italian or more traditional. Just follow them, and they're gonna guide you through. Where am I? That way. Yes. So see you back here at 2:15.